So welcome to Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. I'm here today with Josh Knecht. Josh Knecht has started his property over 10 years ago. He started really from zero to actually doing lots of property deals. He's been buying, selling, flipping, working with investors as well. So he's doing absolutely amazing in his property side of things. So today really I'm just talking to him to learn about his property investment journey, as well as how he's been able to actually go from 10 years to now and still invest in having that energy and passion to actually invest in property. So Josh, I guess the story is not as good as it is. If you could explain to us a little bit about yourself and how you started your property investment journey.
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks for the intro.
It's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been so long. I kind of first got interested in property from a really young age. So my parents lived in a fairly substantial house in Mayford in Surrey. And they had a little annex on the back of the house.
Yeah.
Now that was rented out, so literally every month 700 quid cash would come into the back door.
Yeah.
That would go into a little drawer that was underneath the phone, which those days was attached to the wall.
Yeah.
And you know, I would see every month that a roll of cash would go in. So from such a young age, I knew if you had property, you paid, right? So that was the foundation. So I then decided, yeah, all right, you know, I want to have some of those, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
2008 crash happened, and I'd worked for lots of companies, delivery, shipping, storage.
Wow.
And then when the crash went, kind of the whole world went, oh my god, property's dropping, and I thought, now's my opportunity to buy something that's really great value.
Yeah.
And I haven't done anything, so what do I do now? So I said to my parents, who bought a property portfolio and did, quite honestly, very badly. I think one year they made 65 quid.
Yeah.
They bought off-plan properties through someone that was selling them off a stage, and it was all a bit of a scam, really.
Yeah.
But they ended up with not a lot left.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, and so property was never a great thing in my household. But you know, that flat and the money was enough for me to know, if you get this right, it works.
Yeah.
So my parents dropped me off at a property event just after the 2008 crash.
Okay.
And they said, there you go, it's in there, goodbye.
That's it.
And then they left.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, oh, well, I suppose I better go in.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember where it was or who was speaking, but I was so inspired by what could be done in property. I was like, okay, this is my calling. You know, I'm going for this.
Yeah.
And my motivation was, I always wanted a Ferrari.
Well, okay.
That was
what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Why did you really
355 Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
And I sat in one a little while ago. You know, all my dreams fell apart because it was terrible 90s Italian Ferrari, plasticky, and I just went, I can't spend 100 grand on this.
Yeah.
But you know, they say don't meet your dreams.
Yeah.
And as a result, I'm now building a car of my own. So
oh, it's good. Well done to that. Well done to that. Even me, when I used to like Ferraris, I want to get these cars, but I jump into one, I can't even stretch my legs in it.
No,
I was thinking, how can I spend 200,000 pounds, 150,000 pounds in a car? I can't even drive for like 100 miles. So for me, it's not really worth it. But it's good. You're pointing that out actually, and now you're trying to build your own car.
Yeah. So it was like, well, that was my driving force behind my business. I really want that. This is what's motivating me. And it was like, well, you know, if that's reality is not what I want, you know, what do I want? And it was it's in my blood is petrol head. Like, so at one point I had 32 motorbikes and 5 cars and whatever else, and you know, it was like, what do I really want if it comes down to it? And what I wanted was to build my own car with an aeroplane engine in the front of it.
Wow.
So a classic aeroplane engine in the front of it, and you know, and I've got a few ideas, and it's just coming together slowly. So that's what my motivation is now, and I'm really enjoying doing that.
Good.
But to get back to property, I had a really strong reason why, which was property didn't do well for my parents, so I wanted to make them some money.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted a Ferrari,
Okay.
and that all stems from being very uncool at school. You know, I was so uncool they used to call me the cool crew, right? It was like a cruel joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll probably revisit that
we'll
story
talk
a little
about
bit
that
later.
I cannot wait to hear about that, because I think you told me about that when we were at the front office anyways. But yeah, I like that. So I know most people, for you, your why was because your parent did not do it right. You wanted to come and prove that it works. And what probably motivated is seeing that money underneath the telephone, saying, they're making that money without really getting involved. So that also drives you to actually say, probably properties is for you. But then when did you start to look at, because 2008 actually is when my coach started investing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really not sure about how to start, but he realized 2008 was one of the best times to actually start investing.
Yeah,
so he didn't have money then. His partner was a mortgage broker. Okay. So basically, they then tried to raise money through that way. They were able to buy about 10 or 15 properties, and then the rest became history. Most of those properties now, they picked them for about 50k. Now they're worth about 300 or 400,000 pounds. So that's when they started. So for you then, in terms of the property journey you've been into, what sort of deals have you done or you're currently doing?
So, what kind of deals? I don't do a particular type of deal. I look for opportunities, right? During my kind of start to work years, I wanted to be a mechanic because I'm into cars and all that, as you can probably gather. Mm-hmm. And I see strategies as kind of like my toolbox, right? So, if someone's saying I'm doing HMOs, it's like, well, yeah, but if a deal comes along that's not HMO, are you going to miss it? Yeah. And to me that's kind of like I'm going to fix every car with a spanner, or maybe it needs a screwdriver. Yeah. So the strategies are in my toolbox. Mm-hmm. Now the opportunity will come along, and I'll look at it and I'll go, okay, which is the best way to make this profitable for everyone involved? Yeah. Because if you're fixing a problem, you're creating value, and then when you create value, you get paid.
Of course.
Which is the fundamental kind of property business, I don't know, blueprint, if you like. So for me, it's about how can I make this work? Mm-hmm. So if I talk about one of the properties that I've just actually sold, I sold it before the weekend on the first day to a cash buyer for the full asking price. Very nice. So the mortgage was coming to an end with the current owner. There was no profit in it as far as anyone could see, because the value of the property was 95. The mortgage that was outstanding was 95. What can you do with that?
Wow.
It'd been on the market for 18 months. And it just sat there, and people had told him to service accommodation and HMO it or do this kind of stuff, and I went, well, it's obviously not worth 95 as it is. Mm-hmm. What is it going to be worth? Well, that depends on what someone's prepared to pay. So what I actually did was came in, refurbed the whole place, staged it, and we've sold one at 110.
Wow, okay.
Which the estate agent said, "Oh, you were very lucky." This is good.
That is £15,000 profit, by the way. Looking at 95,000 to 110,000. That's 15,000.
So there was about £5,000 refurb.
Wow, okay.
So that's 10 grand extra in the pot.
And for how many days?
The first one, so we've done two. The first one was about 10 days work.
Wow, okay, that's a good return.
And the one I've just completed is 4 days work.
4 days work.
4 days work.
And you made 15,000.
No, well, I shared it.
I'm always, total.
Yeah. So the one we got now, we actually pushed the market even further. Yeah. So nothing had ever sold above 95 grand for as long as I looked back. We sold one at 110 and the other 120.
Wow. Okay.
So what I look at is take out the refurb cost. How far can we push the market? Mm-hmm. What's realistically achievable? Mm-hmm. And if we achieve that, what's fair for everyone? So I actually split the uplift with the owner. Yeah. So the one I literally sold before the weekend was we've got an extra 10 grand, so it'll be £5,000 each. I spent 4 days doing it. And
so basically,
this one he paid for the refurb, which is just delicious.
In 4 days you made 5k.
Yeah.
Right. In the other property, 10 days you made then about maybe 7.5k.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe because it's 15,000, right? Taking the 5,000 out, say 10,000, so you made £10,000 in about 14 days, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Well done for doing that.
And those are the opportunities that come along that maybe no one else can see. And I just go, do you know what? For the sake of doing a little refurb, because I've got quite a lot of contacts and stuff to do refurbs now, so I can do them fairly cheaply and still have an amazing standard. You can tell by we're selling them above market rate.
Of course.
For me, it was worth taking the risk to put money in to just test the market because I like really pushing the market.
Yeah, I think personally, Josh, it's not about taking the risk. I think for me personally, looking at that story, it's about you being able to think outside of the box, so to speak, because you said the property's been on the market for 18 months. Nobody has bothered to actually do anything with it. Yeah. And if you walked in and you start ripping out floors straight away. So it's you thinking about, okay, we can achieve this amount, but we need to do X, Y, Z, which the owner wasn't even thinking about.
So I'll tell you, the owner was horrified that I started ripping his flat about. So the first one I did, because I hadn't worked with them before. They were a little bit unsure about what I was doing. They'd been told the property was 95 and I started smashing it up. I kind of almost locked them out of their own flat. It's like, go away, let me do my thing.
Exactly.
And I ripped up all of the tiles. Now, it's a bit of a weird one because I think they hadn't bought enough wood to do the whole place laminate. So they had leftover tiles. So around the edge of each room was like these tiles on the floor which joined up to the wood, which was really weird. And so I took a long time ripping those out. And we put in nice luxurious carpet and all that kind of stuff. And there was some parquet flooring at the front, which everyone seemed to love. I thought was terrible. And I ripped all that out. And he was like, no, don't throw that away. So I bagged it all up and he took that away. And then sure enough, once we'd been through the whole process, he was like, okay, I've got another flat. Can we do it again? And I now want to see what you're doing. Okay, fine, but you're paying for the refurb. So we had a little bit of a renegotiate. And once we sold the first one, the estate agent said, "Oh, well, you guys were just lucky." I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." And the second one, I was like, "Still think we're lucky?"
Probably not. You know what you're doing.
I haven't said it. But
I think it's about thinking outside the box. It's like a property I've just secured in South Wales near Swansea. It's a 5-bedroom apartment. Awesome. Not 5-bedroom, 5 flats. Right.
5-bedroom flat.
5-bedroom flat.
Okay.
All separate flats. Okay. So I bought the flat. I went to see the property. Because it needs work to be done at it. Everybody was scared about it. So nobody can think outside of the box. And that house used to be a whole house. Okay. So it's a whole house. Nobody want to touch it, and it required lots of refurb. I went down there, saw the property. I looked at it in a different way.
Of course.
Because people were worried about what they could do with it. Like, they don't know what to do, basically. I came round and put an offer on that deal. I was able to buy significantly below market value.
Amazing.
And I'm going to be having 5 units there. And I'm going to title split all those so we can have 5 individual units. And then obviously we can then do it as a leasehold property and have 5 separate units. So again, looking at that, it's about thinking about what everybody's thinking about. You try to learn and realize that, and then you think the opposite, and then see how you could add value. All the properties I've bought, I've never bought a property that doesn't require value to be added in, because I like to bring my own feel to it, bring my own sort of thing to it, so that I can make it a home. Not just a home, I can make it a place where someone would want to live for ever. Like what you've just done there, basically. You did all that work, stage it, so they can see exactly how that property would look like, and then guess what, £115,000.
Yeah, it was awesome. So 120 for the one we just got, which is just awesome. I'm so happy. And I see so many views and people doing stuff online, and I just think back to viewings that I kind of experienced and in the early days. I came to the conclusion that no one understands how big a double bed is. They walk into a bedroom and go, "Oh, you can only get a double bed in here." Like, when you put a double bed in, they go, "Oh, this is a really big room." So that gave me the understanding that you have to show people what you can do. And on top of that, I will actually write the estate agent spec when I'm selling something, because the agents absolutely hate it.
They don't know what they're doing anyway.
No. Who wants to read double aspect window with radio? I want to sell a story. You can sit here and enjoy the view while eating your favourite lunch, or all that stuff. And they go, "Are you really going to get me to put that on there?" Yes, I am. And here are the professional photos to go with it.
There you go.
Because when people buy a property, they show the people around them, "I've put an offer on this, what do you think?" So that advert's got to sell it to the people that are next to them, because people next to the buyer is the influencers. Because if you show your mate something and they go, oh, that's rubbish, what are you doing? They go, oh, am I doing the wrong thing? Oh my goodness. And there's more likelihood that your deal's going to fall out of bed.
Yeah.
So I'll write the spec, professional photos. It looks amazing online. They show people and they go, oh, wow, that's beautiful, that's amazing. It reinforces they're doing the right thing, and usually my sales stay in bed.
Wow, that is very good to do. We do something similar here as well. We try to bring a story when we're doing viewings. Basically, we tell them about the properties, about the bedroom, who used to live in the bedroom, what they used to, etc., etc., and also take them to the house, and then we do the last sort of sitting or talking about the property in the best place of the property. Of course, right? So that way, then they can have that blueprint in their head, saying, okay, this is a really nice place to actually live. Talking about that now, basically. I know this deal is a joint venture you did with this owner. Yeah. For people who wants to actually try to do that, did you have a pre-agreement with the landlord or the homeowner? Do you have any documentation, or what did you do to actually get you to start doing what you just did?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I learned fairly early on is if you don't have it written down, you can't prove anything. So I was in a situation where I'd put about 300 grand of someone else's money into a property that I was JVing on but didn't actually control. So basically we bought this cash. It was a massive warehouse. We were going for planning. And one of the other parties was responsible for doing the planning, and that didn't happen. And so it went on. I was like, look, this is like, our deadline's coming. I've got to pay my investors back. What's your plan? And the kind of, he didn't really have one. And it was a kind of a fight all the way through. And luckily for me, I'm smart enough to know that if you're buying something cash, you can put a first charge on it. Right? Yeah, of course. So we didn't, although we didn't have any other agreement, I had the proof that I'd put the money in, and I had a first charge on the building, and it was like, well, you can pay me out and keep your building, or I'm going to take the building and actually do the deal, because clearly nothing's happening. We've been a year and nothing's here. So the nice thing was I got my money back out of it, and my investors were all paid back, and I paid them profit as well. I did good by them, which is always my main priority. But that learned you need really detailed agreements as to what each person's responsibility is. Yes. What happens if someone dies? What happens if they are unable to work? You've got to cover all the bases, and when you're starting out, you might not know that, and you get yourself into a JV, and the person passes away, or if the way I say it is, if I get hit by a bus, what's going to happen, right? Are you then joint venturing with their family? It's like, well, that's not ever going to work, because they're going to want the most money out of it.
And they don't know about property.
They don't know about property, and they just be like, and there will be the massive squabbles. And these are the things you just don't think about when you're early on going, okay, I've got to buy some houses, I've got to make some money, I've got to do some stuff to try and pull this all together, because this is what I want to do. And it can get a bit hectic early on. And I'm really not a detailed person. I have a couple of ladies that help me with the detailed stuff. And that's my sounding board, because I go out there, I do the viewings, I negotiate the deals, I make stuff happen, and I leave a trail of destruction behind me when it comes to the admin. So they have to kind of pick up all the pieces behind me. Because I'm like 100 miles an hour, view, right, buy, negotiate, direct to vendor, assist to sell, and they're like, what is this transaction? What have you done here? What have you agreed? This person's saying this. Is that correct? It's like, oh yeah, right. Okay, here's what we've agreed. Okay, shall I put that in a document for you? Yes, please. That'd be
brilliant. That is
so. They are now my insurance policy, because early on you try and do everything yourself. And one thing I know that I'm not good at is all the detailed stuff and getting that all right. And that is vital to your business.
Absolutely.
Because if that's not right, you're open to all sorts of unscrupulous scams or whatever people try and do.
I know.
So make sure you got your paperwork in place. If you're not good at paperwork, get someone that knows what they're doing. So I've even got a retired lawyer. Can you just look over that for me to make sure it's good? Do whatever it takes. But if you're not good at something, you're not good at, get someone in that is good at that. Either share your profit, or pay them a wage, or
you absolutely bang on.
You've got to make it happen.
Yeah, you absolutely bang on, because. And also, I think the important thing also is to recognize your weakness. right? Which most people don't want to admit, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And then if you don't admit to your weakness, you won't grow. For you know, okay, I'm not attention to details. What do I do next? Get someone who can literally have attention to details and sort out all my deals.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, you've not been greedy. Some people being greedy probably say, oh, I can do it, but really, I don't want to share my profit. To me, 0%, 100% of nothing is better than 50% or 10% of 100%.
Yeah, you get something out of it. Yeah.
So it is something that you are getting out of it, which is really, really good. I know you've been doing so many deals. You've been doing really, really well in what you're doing now, which is what draws me to you when I looked at your profile. But what would your advice be to someone who's just about to start their property investment journey?
I think the first thing to know is that it's not easy.
Yeah, okay.
And you're not going to get rich
Yeah.
in a year.
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just I see so many people going, I've quit my job, I've got a year to do it. And I'm going, you're just not going to do it. Right? You might get a deal over the line, but that's not going to then sustain you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And when that deal is over, then what you're going to do? Okay, you're going to need to structure it properly. So know that it's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's
Yeah.
play the long game.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with property, it's very profitable, but it's very slow.
Yeah.
Continental drift tends to be faster than any sets of solicitors that I work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just because they're busy and there's a lot of transactions, it's not that anyone's terrible. Just stuff takes forever.
Yeah.
You even have to wait weeks for your searches to come back. I mean, you can go and do it yourself if you're a detailed person. By all means, go and do it.
Yeah.
But just allow double the time you think is going to take.
Yeah.
So my last JV, I always tell people a year, because I know I can sort of do it 6, 7, 8 months.
Yeah.
So I'll tell people a year, and then 8 months they get the profit and the money back, and it's like, we've done it in 8 months. Thank you very much. Do you want to work with me again?
Brilliant.
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
And it's about managing expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect to get rich first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or fast. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't expect to get rich fast.
Okay.
I think it's probably my number one piece of advice.
Okay, so that is very good. Actually, is good. You've said that, because I always tell people property game is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a long-term game. And when you invest in property, you really feel poor as well, because you don't get the money instantly. But what you're doing, basically, you're accumulating wealth. Because buying properties, holding them, or joint venturing with people, you're accumulating assets. Not just that, you will also be making your cash flow in a residual income. Say joint venture with someone, if you bought that property and you rent that property out, even if you're making £300 profit a month, if you share that on a 50-50 partnership, you've got £150 a month that you don't have to do anything to actually get that. Exactly. So again, this is what I tell people. So if you want to get rich, maybe you want to gamble on NFT, Bitcoin, or things like that. But with properties, you're going to get rich, but not as fast as you would imagine. But it's the most sustainable and safer way of investing, because when you buy a property, the property is there for you. You can walk past it, you can visit it, you can kiss it, you can hug it, you can do whatever you want with it. But when it comes to stock and shares, today you're at £10,000. The next day you are at £5,000, and you are actually relying on a director or a manager who manages that company. If they got investigated, for example, they did something silly, right? Your share prices goes down. Yeah. And also, if the company itself did really, really bad, your share prices are down. And again, you're not controlling that. You're just going into speculation, hoping that it would go up. I'm not saying he hasn't got money in it. No, but the return you get in now, most of the shares they sell anyways, or you buy, you don't even have dividend. No. Right? You don't have dividend. And with property, you buy it, you got the asset, you can leverage, right? You can look for a property that's £100,000, you put down 25%, which is £25,000, you get a property, and that will generate, if you go for the basic way of doing things by renting it to a family, you make minimum of £300, okay? That's, again, I don't know which stock and shares you could buy that would generate you £300 a month in a £25,000 investment. I'm not saying it's not there, no, but I haven't seen that unless you're trading the stock and shares. But again, you get hit by dividend. You get hit by capital gain tax, okay?
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah.
So again, that's the reason why I like properties, right?
Yeah.
You make money in capital appreciation, and you make money in the cash flow. Not just that, you're providing a home to someone who needs it the most. Yeah. Right? That is the sort of joy I kind of get out of it. And what I've learned also is not a get rich quick scheme. It's about you being perseverance, consistent, trying to work your way, having a bigger dream, as I just said, and you have to have a vision. You have to see, you have to know where you want to go, and then follow those roadmap to actually get you there by following someone like yourself, for example, seeing what your journey is like. It's like the guy that you just joint venture with. He saw you did it the first time, said, okay, how about now if we can do it together, but show me what to do.
Of course.
He's a clever way of doing it.
And that's really good for him. And it was interesting for me as well, because I had to then explain to him why I do what I do. And because I've been doing it for so long, half the time I had to really think about it. Okay, yeah, why am I having an argument with this flooring guy? Well, because the flooring guy wants to put the stripes of the wooden floor going long ways down the kitchen, and I want to go sideways to make it feel wider.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just know to do that, and I say, right, this is what I want, can you go ahead and do it? Whereas when I'm working with someone else who's then doing it, they come back to me and say, no, the guy said do it this way, so I've gone with that. No, phone him up, say this is how we want it if you want the business, because that's what we do. Well, why do you do that? Okay, and then I had to kind of think it through. So it was interesting for me.
Okay.
He's probably able now to go and do his next one on his own. Whether he will or not, I'm not sure. But it was great learning for me and good for him as well. So I know you touched on NFTs and Bitcoins.
Yeah.
It may horrify all of the people out there to let you guys know that I don't own any Bitcoins or NFTs because I can't hold it.
Of course.
Can I create value with this? Can I see it? Can I use it to create value that I can quantify?
Yeah.
Because if I'd bought some Bitcoin 10 years ago, great. But 10 years ago, would I have known it had gone this way? Could I prove that I could add value to it? No, so I won't invest in it.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking earlier. In my opinion, it's a gamble.
Yes.
So I don't gamble. I do risk based on creating value.
Yeah.
And I can't find a way to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure people will argue with me, and please do.
Yeah. As I said to you, I have done a research on NFTs recently, because there's this guy called Gary Vee. He's been banging on NFTs. I sat down and watched about an hour or two about someone else talking about this NFT thing. He did really, really well in the presentation. At the end of the presentation, he said, basically, it's like gambling. That just turned me off straight away. I said, how can I put money in an asset or in an online asset that I was told it might go up, it might not go up. Who would have seen a picture or a drawing and want to buy it that much? I'm not saying that they're not out there, but how would you know really that token, it's called token, would actually make you that much money?
The thing that confuses me, right, I look at stuff on a really basic level because, I'm not super intelligent, I'm not better than anyone else, but I look at, a picture, whatever it is that they're selling, right, and it's like, how is that worth what someone's prepared to pay?
Yeah.
What can they do with that? Is that going to add value? So, I could get my 10-year-old niece to draw me a picture. It's one of a kind. Is someone going to give me 30 grand for it? Probably not. Then why is someone going to give me 30 grand for an electronic picture on their screen? I don't get it. I'm not investing. So
it has to make sense to you.
Yeah.
But the thing is about properties also, if you buy a property, it's there, right?
Yeah,
and the next 10 years,
I can touch it,
you can feel it, right? It's there. And in the next 5 years or 10 years, it would have doubled in profit. But you're not going to buy an NFT, as I just said, with Bitcoin. The one that bought it about 10, 15 years ago, they did really well, but did they know it would go to that?
Again, that was a gamble, and it paid off for them.
Yeah, it has.
But I bet you there's a lot of people at the same time as people bought Bitcoin, bought something else that now doesn't even exist and we don't even know about it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to be in either of those positions, to be totally honest.
Yeah. Okay. So that then comes to the conclusion that really a property is the thing that we like. Both of us.
Yeah. Exactly. I like it.
Because of the cash flow.
Yeah.
Because of the cash flow, as well as capital appreciation. So I know people invest in watches and all that sort of thing. Gold. I like gold. Don't get me wrong. But you're gonna find a place to store it. Place someone to secure it. You have to pay the rent for it as well, right? But with property, once you bought it, you're not going to pay someone to store it. You're not going to pay someone to look after it. You can pay someone to do the repair and maintenance. Yeah. But it's there, you're renting, you're making cash flow. Yeah, and looking at history right now, gold price has gone down significantly as well. But at the same time, if you have that storage, you want to invest in gold. I'd rather invest in gold because I know it's solid asset is there, right?
Well, again, I look at it at a really basic level. Now, the people that have been promoting gold to me are like, as if it's an insurance policy against, the whole world collapsing, right? This is the kind of feel I get, because, if money goes mental, and we go back to basics, it's gold. It's like, well, okay, supposing the world's gone nuts and we're talking about doomsday here, right? And you don't have any food or any toilet roll, as we all know has been a thing. Who's going to swap you their toilet roll for a nugget of gold?
Probably not.
No one, right? So great, keep it as as an asset if you like it and you think it might go up in value. As a doomsday end-all crisis kind of thing, not convinced. I'll have a bit just to diversify. I don't want to put all of my money in property. Am I going to pay for storage? Absolutely not.
No, there you go.
No, why would I pay for it's not an asset anymore.
No.
If I'm paying for storage, that's a liability. It's taking money out of it's coming out of my pocket.
Right.
So if I'm going to buy gold, I'll have the piece of gold, and I'll have it there, and then I might sell it later and realise some profit.
Yeah.
But until I do that, it's currently a liability because my money's in it.
Yeah.
So I always go back to, can I put that money to better use in something else?
Yeah, where it would work a lot harder.
Yeah, and I come back to, I won't buy my Ferrari because I've got in it and I was so disappointed. I'll just buy another house with it.
There you go.
And then guess what? That's given me another 300 quid in my pocket for the rest of my life. Oh dear, that's terrible. And I think for me, a lot of my why came from one, my parents not doing very well. And one year where they made, I don't know, about 65 quid, I gave them $6.5 grand profit for something that we'd done together, which was really awesome. And then the other part of it was going back to right when I was at school, and just not being cool. And I was like, I'm going to have a Ferrari and everyone's going to think I'm amazing. And at a school reunion, I turned up in the nicest car in the car park with a crisp white suit with my hat and all that, and it walked in like, the millionaire has arrived. And I just looked at everyone and I went, I don't even care what you lot think. Like, you're all idiots. Why am I trying to prove myself to you lot? And I'm like, okay, car went, suit went, just be yourself. But it's weird when you're a kid, like, you've got to prove yourself and try and be, it's really important to be someone. And I never was, and that kind of motivated me to like, I'm going to be amazing, and they're all going to wish that they were my friend or whatever, and it's just not like that. And I went, okay, I'm never coming back to reunion. I don't care what you lot think. I'm doing my thing. So that was kind of a light bulb moment for me, which is like, okay, what do I really want? I'm going to build my own car and do my thing. And, I'm not going to drive something to kind of prove myself to anyone else because I don't really care.
Absolutely.
But it took me going back to a school reunion to realise that I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm not doing this to look rich. I want to look rich. I want to, I want to be that person that someone's going to come past. And to be honest, I love haters. Yeah. Right? Haters just, they go at you and they're really angry.
Make you grow, actually.
I love it because it's a bit like real life. If someone's really nasty to you, you're like, well, I love the fact that I've got a property portfolio in the background. I don't have to do much. I've got to keep that ticking over. And they're looking down on me and I'm like, fine by me, I don't care.
Exactly.
So it's, your mindset changes, I think, as you go along.
Yeah, same here. Same here. You're absolutely right. I try to fit in. When I arrived in this country very young, at the age of 15, I wanted to be one of those boys in London that can do lots of things. Try to get myself involved, trying to make myself fit in. Yeah. Right. But I learned it from someone I visited, an inspirational speaker. I can't remember his name. If I do know his name, I would really appreciate him. I went to one of his events in London. He used an analogy. He said he had the same situation. I think he was from Thailand. He moved to Australia, I think it was. He said he tried to fit in, only to realize that human beings are made to be different. Every individual human being is a different being. So we are all different. Don't try to fit in, because if you try to fit in, one, you lose your identity, and secondly, you would not know where you belong. And then he raised very bright examples to me that really resonate with me. He said, we all have a thumbprint, and each and every thumbprint is different. That tells you you are not made to be the same as someone else. So just be yourself. Since that day, I don't care about my accent. I don't care about my color. I don't care where I came from. When someone asks me where I came from, I say I came from my mom's belly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I come from my mom's belly. So why are you asking me? It's not about where I came from. It's about where I'm going. So I learned that then. I think I was about 18, 19 or 20 years old by then. Since then, that then really resonated with me. Now I don't care about what people think, because I used to, when I go to the gym, I used to wear the same outfits, same colors, nice trainers, expensive trainers, thinking that people will care about it, knowing that people don't even recognize what you wear. They don't even care what you wear. They might just say, "Wow, you got nice trainers," maybe for 5 seconds, and that will be it. And the funny thing was also, I had 21 pairs of trainers at home, right?
Okay.
And I hardly wear them,
with motorbikes.
right? Literally, I hardly wear them. I only wear one of those trainers, and I realized, you know what? It's not worth trying to please or trying to impress people. Just be yourself. And then now I buy the same things. So people saw me wearing the same shirt, thinking I'm wearing the same shirt. I have 3 or 4, 5 of the same shirt.
Yeah,
One,
exactly.
because I want to use my time efficiently. I don't want to sat on my wardrobe, start looking on what to wear. They are exactly the same. I just put them on and then I walk out.
Nice.
So now I learned to realize that, listen, it's not about pleasing people. It's about adding value to whatever you do in life, which Definitely. I am grateful to be able to do to lots of people. And I'm also grateful for having you also adding value to our audience. Back to the business side of things now. How have you been able, and you've been in the game for over 10 years now, how have you been able to actually scale your business to the next level?
Systems.
Okay, yeah.
It's quite literally, until I had someone creating systems for me, it was all me just doing stuff.
Yeah.
So, it was actually quite a long process. I had a business analyst came in and she said, right, tell me what you do. So we would talk and she would note down the process and then they would go, right, how do you get from this bit to this bit? And of course I knew because I'd just done it. But because they didn't know the business, they would go, I can't go from that step to that step. There's something in the middle that's missing. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I had to do this. And just doing that process would map out exactly what I would do on a daily basis in order to raise money, to analyze deals, to rent a room, and everything down to writing the pitch for the estate agent we talked about earlier. All of that is kind of mapped out in a massive manual. So if something happens to me, I did end up in hospital with some heart murmurs. Someone stepped in and ran the business.
Yeah.
And I don't always want to be running the business full time.
Yeah.
So that's also engineering me to have more free time when I'm ready to step away from the business if I want to. I'm a property guy, right? So the chances of me not doing anything with property are pretty slim. But if I can engineer it where I don't need to be there, kind of like a McDonald's system, you put this here and you add your cheese and your whatever, and they always come out the same. Systemize the business to that point. And then you can focus on what you like doing.
Absolutely.
And the rest can just happen without you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most valuable thing, is to start your business, if you're starting off, as if you're not going to be doing this forever and you're going to write exactly what you do, and later on that will save you thousands.
Yeah, absolutely right. In my businesses, basically, we do have procedures and systems as well. So what we do, regardless what your background or your education are, you can literally walk into my office now and do whatever job you want to do. Because what we do, we have procedures and system in place that would allow you to do it. What we did basically, whenever I've got a role, before when we train them, we'd ask them to recreate a procedure. Right? So what we do, we update the current procedures we have,
of course,
because people learn differently. So what we then do, we look at all the procedures and bring them all in one and have a concise, precise procedure that people would follow. And obviously we've got the systems in place as well that allow that to happen, so that if someone fall ill or someone get hit by a bus, touch with none of my staff that happens though. But if that happens, we've got someone who can just literally take it on and actually do whatever they want to do. And then I learned that from the McDonald's system actually. McDonald's, exactly. Anybody from anywhere can literally walk into McDonald's today and do the job exactly the same way that the one that worked there for 10 years did. So I've learned that as well. I've been implementing it, trying to implement in all my businesses, and it's working really, really well. And now I can sit with you, talk to you. I don't have to actively get involved in whatever they do. And I am grateful to be able to actually learn that from someone else instead of making the same mistakes. So that is really, really good. Just to touch on that, I know you've been talking to me at the front office just now. You said you were able to raise about £1 million. Would you be able to tell us how you've been able to raise that money? Because I was fascinated when you said that.
So that was my first goal, was to raise £1 million, and I've well surpassed that now probably. yeah, definitely. But again, that was going back to the systems. It was one property event per week.
Yeah.
At that event, you would talk to 10 people.
Yeah.
You'd collect 10 business cards. You'd write 10 sets of notes.
Yeah.
And then during that week, you would make 10 phone calls.
Wow.
Okay.
Follow-ups, basically.
Yeah, that's it. And I think one of my top tips for anyone starting out there is one of my sayings, which is the more phone calls I make, the more money I make. Good. So these 2 assisted sales came as a result of me picking up the phone. I was walking around a park and, right, who can I call? And I was just phoning people that I met at property events or webinars or whatever, because you don't know who's sitting there with £1 million in their pocket.
Absolutely.
And they have a slightly different problem to someone that's got £2,000, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because certainly with the inflation as it is at the moment, they've got the problem where if they don't do something with their money, it's going to start devaluing. Yeah. So they have to find really good things and people to invest in.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different mindset to I'm trying to build up a business from nothing and make myself wealthy. So, I've got to be, again, a bit like the toolbox, I've got to be flexible as to how I go with any conversation, as any deal, and work out where the best fit is, create value, and then you end up getting paid.
Wow, brilliant. So in that 1 million then, so I know you might not get this from one investor, I would assume. How were you able to build relationship with these people to trust you to be able to lend you up to $1 million?
This is the biggest thing, because when I was mentoring, people were, when they're starting out, they were saying to me, why would anyone lend me money? Yeah. So my question back to them was, if they have money and it's sitting in their bank, why aren't they doing deals? Yeah. So they've also got a problem that they're trying to solve, and you've potentially got the solution to their problem. So why wouldn't they invest with you? So it's kind of a psychological, no one will invest in me because. Yeah. And this brings me to a really good point. There's no one in the property industry that I'm aware of that focuses on the tough mindset that you have to be in property. Yeah. Right? Because it is not easy. No. And there are going to be times when you're going, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything, and you're going to be staring at the ceiling going, I don't even know how I'm going to get myself out of this. Yeah. Those days will come. Yeah. But they will also pass if you stick with it. Yeah. So back to the the raising the £1 million. What I did was, I found someone that was doing an amazing deal, and I said, can I come and have a look? Yeah. Alright, so I said, this is my goal, I'm going to get X number of houses, I'm going to have this much per year, and and I want to have a Ferrari and build a block of flats, or own a block of flats, and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But I haven't got a clue. And I took a tour of their house and saw what they were doing, and they told me about their joint venture, which was someone paying for the refurb, they bought the house and they're splitting the profit. I was like, okay, this is cool. I said, so if I had some money, bear in mind I had absolutely nothing, could we do the same kind of thing where, I'll put some money in for the refurb and, as a result, you give me a bit of profit? I said, well, yeah, that could work. So that was an interesting conversation. At the end, I said, look, can I make a little case study of this? Mm-hmm. And they went, yeah, if you want. I said, I'm going to show it to everyone. Mm-hmm. Are you happy with that? And they're like, yeah, of course. Yeah, crack on. Tell people I want to work with more people. Yeah. So I did a whole business plan based on these types of deals. Wow. Which was, funnily enough, buy, refurbish, refinance, rent, which is my main strategy. Yeah. And I phoned everyone that I'd met at all the property events, and I just went for hundreds and hundreds of coffees. If they were interested in what I was doing, or they had similar interest, or they knew something that I didn't, which was a lot of the time, can you come to coffee? And I just had hundreds and hundreds of coffees with people in coffee shops going, this is my plan, this is what I've seen, I think I could replicate it. If I find something else like this, are you interested in getting involved? Wow. And loads of people just went, you don't know what you're doing, and laughed and left. No, that's cool, great. But eventually I'd been asked every question that I was ever going to get asked, and then I'd given every stupid answer that I could possibly think of. Instead of going, I've no idea, I'll find out, I went, I think sort of like this, and that was a stupid strategy. I started going, don't know, but I'll get back to you, and then I'd go back to to the guy, I go, look, someone's asked me this, what's the answer? And eventually I had all of the answers to all of the questions I was ever going to get asked after doing hundreds of coffees. And I had one guy who was, funnily enough, a police officer, and he said, well, I'll lend you 10 grand for the next refurb.
Wow.
And I went, now what? I was so used to going, no, on to the next, no, on to the next. And when he said yes, I don't know what to do now. So it was then, right, I've got the refurb money. It's then partner up with someone else. And I said, right, okay, I'm ready to go with the refurb money. Can we do the next deal? Yeah, fine. Found the next deal. And I just brought as many people through that house as I possibly could. Come and look at my JV. Come and look at my JV. Come and look at my JV. Who would like to give me £2 grand for the kitchen? Who'd like to pay for the bathroom for £1,000 quid? Who'd like to do that? And by the end of bringing all the people around, I'd had the 10 grand to give back to the guy.
I like that.
So thank you very much. And I gave it back to him, and he said, "Oh, it was great to work with you. Love to work with you again." But I never thought to ask him again. Yeah. And now I'm going, why didn't you just go? Do you want to do it again? But I just didn't think. I was then on to okay, find the next person. So if I'd gone back and said to him, do you want to buy one together? Who knows how many?
He would have definitely gone back to you because you've given him his money plus more. So obviously he would have come back to you. So with those people that you said come pay for the kitchen, pay for the bathroom, pay for whatever you wanted them to pay. So how were you able to actually get them the profit? Did you tell them on the basis of when I sell the property, we're going to make this profit and this will be a share?
Yeah.
How were you able to?
Because of there's fairly strict rules about what you can and can't do in property. It was like, lend me the money and I'll give you X 300 quid extra at the end of the project.
Yeah, okay.
And that just came out of my profit. Left me with a little bit. And I was like, great. And then I was going straight back to those people and go, do you want to do the next one? Do you want to pay for all of it? Do you want a joint venture? Network like hell. I've never drunk so much coffee. I was completely wired all of the time, but man, it was exciting.
Fantastic. And you're able to raise that £1 million?
Yeah, raised £1 million. Just having coffee, going to networking events, and hitting the phones. That really was the blueprint for
again, it's all what you're saying there basically is persistence,
absolutely,
consistency, and perseverance and self-motivating basically. So because that motivation it has to be in you. I learned it from a gentleman called Tony Robbins. I don't know if you know who he is.
I've never heard of him.
Tony Robbins, of course you do. So basically he taught me that saying. He said to me, 90% of success is mindset.
Showing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And showing up. It's mindset, and then 10% is literally doing what your phone calls and all that sort of thing. So I've learned that as well. So I think why you've been able to do that, it's not the phone call, just the phone calls. It's having the courage and the mindset to actually ring these people, especially having lots of no's. And now you've got that 10K, like, oh, I've got 10K now. What can I do with the 10K? You were even shocked in the end. But what kept you going? It's one, maybe surround yourself with property people who told you, listen, you're going to get lots
I was like a sponge. I grabbed so much information from so many people on so many different strategies.
Yeah.
It was like a massive education, as well as doing the property networking. I was watching all the success stories at the front of the room, which is what they do to sell the courses and that kind of stuff. So I was that was like my university.
Do you usually keep your properties or
I'm a hoarder. I'm so terrible.
Yeah.
Because what I've been doing is buying, refurbishing, refinancing out my investors. Because I'm joint venturing, then I'm kind of doing a profit share of some way, shape or form, and I won't charge a fee because if I'm sourcing property and selling it out for a fee, fine, take a fee and do your thing. If I'm involved, then we'll do a profit share. There are some rules and regulations about who you can and can't do that with, high net worth, etc. So being a property hoarder, right, and I am known within my group as a property hoarder because I've kind of got a little WhatsApp that I'm part of. Now the property hoarder's at it again. I would buy something, refinance and pay out the investor and keep the property, which is great because they get paid out, there's no sales, they get all their money, all of my profit is left in the deal, which is great, but that means I don't get the big chunks of cash. Now, occasionally, if there's something really nice I want to keep, I will then not have enough money to pay the investor. So I'll keep a little bit and I'll just pay you interest. And then, if you build up your portfolio, and leaving little bits owing to investors, at some point you're going to go, oh, well, actually, I've got to pay you all out. So then I'll have to sell something and pay off the investors. But but buying the stuff in my name allows me to keep them. And actually, that's not a great strategy. If I was starting again, I'd buy 3, sell 2, keep 1.
Yeah.
The 2 that you sell gives you a deposit for the third one. But I know that a few years later, I'd look back at all the ones I sold and go, oh, if I'd kept them all, I could make 5 million extra.
Yeah.
So I'm actually using less and less of investors' money as time goes on. So if you want to invest, you want to have a conversation, now's your time, because within the next couple of years, I'm going to pay all my investors out and I'm going to be keeping all the profit.
Yeah.
But over time, the investors will be paid out of the portfolio, and I'll just be doing stuff on my own, or maybe a couple of my really good investors that kind of won't let me get away with paying them out.
Okay.
And so, at that point, I can evaluate the business. Do I want to keep growing? Do I want to sell some? Do I want to just sell the business completely? It then gives me options.
Yeah, that's good. So in terms of, you said joint venture, it depends what sort of documentation that you could use. Are your JV partners or your business partners, are they high enough net worth individuals or no? And what sort of legality do you have to be kind of understand before you get into stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's a whole series in itself.
Summarize it.
Yeah. 13.3 regulation means that you have to have someone that's either high net worth, which is, according to their rules and regulations, 250 grand in cash or in equity, excluding their own home. They're seen to be high net worth, or they earn 100 grand a year or more. There's a couple of others, but they're a little bit grey area for me, and I like to keep it really, really simple. If you don't meet one of those, then we don't do a profit share. Okay. It's really easy. Right, so everyone knows exactly where they are. You can come and work with me. You can loan me some money for a fixed return. Absolutely.
As a loan, basically.
As a loan, yeah. And you don't come then under 13.3 regulation. But then that is my responsibility. No matter what happens with the deal, I have to pay them that. And if I'm taking all the risk, I might as well just buy it myself. However, I still have people that have 5-10 grand if I'm doing a refurb and it needs a rewire that I hadn't expected, which does happen very occasionally. I had one recently that they'd put a new fuse box in and just attached it to the old wiring. So when we bought it and did the test, all the wiring had to come out. So I have people that, look, I'll give you a fixed return for the duration of the project. And then, it's a loan to me. It's not actually on the property, but that's what I'm going to use it for. And then that's kind of easy. Everyone knows where they are. They know what they're getting. I have the responsibility to pay them back, and that's that. The flip side of it, if you're using investors' money, you've got to be anti-money laundering aware. Because sources get targeted a lot, because people that are laundering money will try and give you a deposit and then get you to refund it back to them, and if you've touched laundered money, then it's 10 years in Her Majesty's HMOs. Wow, okay. No thank you very much. So you need to prove to basically, I make sure that everything is as if I'm proving it to a judge. So, where's the money come from? Has it been in the bank account? Has it been in a bank account where other money has come in and gone out? How can you then prove which bit of money it is? Okay, well, if more money's come in, you've got to show me where that is. And once you go to that level of detail with someone, if there's something a little bit uneasy, it will come to light, and you'll just go,
there you go. I don't want that problem. So,
or if if it's really bad, then you have to. You're legally obliged to report it. So
of course. Yes.
So you're dealing with quite a lot of money. So make sure you're not touching any, laundered money. Make sure you're responsible with it, because we're talking of sums of money that will change people's lives. It could be their whole life savings. And that's a massive responsibility to take. So one of the things that I pride myself on is I always do good by my investors. Fantastic. And then we do a deal and they just come straight back to me. So the one in Weston-super-Mare, I think they had their money back from another joint venture for less than 3 weeks.
Wow.
And they phoned me, right, thank you very much.
And they get paid for 12 months or 8 months.
Well, that was actually a profit share. So they put in 50 grand and they got, in 7 months, they got 12.5 profit. So that's 25% on their money. It was a nice deal. Again, I bought them out, and then when they got wind that I'd found another deal, they phoned me up. Well, maybe we can work together again. Maybe we'll do another couple of deals.
They can return in 7 months. We do something similar to that.
I do
something similar to that. So what I tend to do when I bring investors in or lenders in is where I can change the use of the property.
Yeah.
Right? I can buy a 3-bedroom house that I can convert into 5 or 6 bedrooms, or a HMO, or as a flat.
Yeah.
Knowing that, okay, if they lend me the money, if I remortgage, I'm able to pay them off. Right, and then I then end up with the property, but they get a return on investment. I'll tell them the deal is about 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
But in most cases, 99% of the times, in within 6-7 months, we're done.
Yeah, great.
And then what we do, we pay them the 12 or 18 or whatever we've agreed. They're happy with it. They say, Rahim, when is it next deal?
Yeah.
And then we then roll it over to another deal.
Like,
so that's how we've been doing it. And now I'm thinking about bringing them as partners as well. Some of them I've already worked with, because I think that way then they're still having a piece of the pie in the long run. So I want to mirror something similar to what Grant Cardone is doing, is you can invest the money or buy the property, invest the money in the property, right? And then obviously you then get your monthly sort of return as a rental income, part of the building. And then whenever we sell or remortgage the property, any upside on that also, you also get the benefit from that. Because I think that way then it's foster a win-win resolution. If you buy that property, we haven't sold it for say 6-7 years, if it's double price, you still get that piece as well when we either sell it or remortgage. But the main focus we do basically is to get lenders just to stay away from the legal side of things. You lend us the money, we agree on this return, and then if we finish the work within 8 months, we pay exactly the amount we mean to pay if it was 12 months. That way we're all happy, and you can move on to do other sort of deals.
They'll come back to you time and time again, and you don't need that many really good investors to have a fairly substantial business. The nice thing is you're not foul of any rules with pooled investments. So you know, if you've got 2 people that are high net worth and you buy a property with all 3 of you involved, that's, as far as HMRC are concerned, a pooled investment, and you have to be FCA regulated to do that. So it's you and a JV partner. As long as they're high net worth, you don't come under the pooled investment. So you know, it's good to know what you can do. It's also more important that you know what you can't do, because that's where you're going to come unstuck. And hang around with people that are doing this stuff all day.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that, bro. That is a golden nugget right there.
Right.
Your enthusiasm and your energy draws me to you. My question is really, what really keeps you going without losing your enthusiasm and energy?
You got to love it. You got to love what you do. So, you know, I ask people when they're going into this, are you prepared to do this for 5 years and not make any money? Okay, because that hopefully not the case. But if it is, and you're prepared to stick it out, you're going to be successful. Like we said, it's not get rich quick. It is get very rich very slowly. You are dealing with assets which will make you money in the long run. You know, inflation erodes your debt, which is beautiful. You get rental every month. You have to do a lot of cleaning toilets and dealing with tenant stuff and dealing with drunk people outside your house where the other tenant that you didn't know was living there has locked them out, and then they have a fight, and there's always stuff to do. It's not like you can put money in and just forget about it. You're always doing stuff. However, you're building a portfolio, you're building a lifestyle, you're building a business that you can then either exit from, engineer your way out, or sell it and do nothing. The problem with that is people that are good, like, you know, us running businesses, is like, once it's all gone, you're like, I'm bored. I need something else to do.
Absolutely.
So I'm never planning to sell the business.
Yeah,
so.
I always hold my property. I think since I started investing, I've only sold 1 property. Right? I've only sold 1 because the reason is because whenever I go into properties, I tend to literally find the one that can add value and be able to recycle most of my money out, so I can roll that to another deal. So I understand where you say you're a holder. I am a holder as well. And I learned that from my coach as well, because I attach to the property in terms of the thing that brings me joy is seeing tenant moving in. Obviously, you've got all the upside and all the downside of it, but yeah, absolutely, I like that energy. Keep it going, and I really like seeing that online as well. So you talk about hard time. I definitely inspired by someone who overcome hard time. Do you mind sharing a time or event that you were able to overcome a hard time you faced?
Yeah, so I can tell you a little story that's been a secret for quite a while.
Okay.
Apart from I let it slip in one interview, which I think you've seen. So early on in my investment journey, property journey, I did a deal. I touched on it earlier. put 300 grand into a deal that I didn't control, which was at the time all my investors' funds, all of my eggs in one basket. And parents got ill, parents passed away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
It's okay, it's one of those things. And long and short of it is I didn't have anywhere to go because I'd kind of dropped everything to look after them because they were both ill, which of course you'd do. And then that kind of lost momentum. All my investors were kind of out, and it was like, I haven't even got enough money to start going to property events. It's like, I really haven't got anything, and we were in a rented house at the time. So, we couldn't keep it on because they'd both passed away, and there wasn't enough money for us to qualify us to keep the house as a rental.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have anywhere to go. So I stayed on friends' sofas for as long as I could until I really, really outstayed my welcome to any of them. And I then ended up in a shed just on the edge of the train tracks just outside of Croydon.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, wow, this is not what I planned it to be. I was in there for a few months because I didn't have anywhere to go. And it was like, well, now what?
Wow.
All my investors' money was there, had nowhere to blimmin' live. All my friends had told me to get my life together and sort of kick me out of their houses, and it was like, okay, we're starting from scratch again. And yeah, through some of the winters, as it was one winter, luckily enough, I was in a shed. The door didn't close properly, and it was cuddling fiberglass because it was -7. I'd have a temperature gauge in there, and then it was like, okay, I can either admit defeat or I can just keep going. So it was a case of, right, I need to get money, I need to get a job. So it was literally go out and speak to every employer that I'd ever had and say, have you got any work? Have you got any work? Have you got any work? No. And there was one guy actually at the motorcycle shop, which I started when I started working there when I was 15. He said, I've got a store in the town centre, it's part-time, the deal is that you're the key holder. Part of the deal was I could get the key. It wasn't necessarily part of that. I said, look, can I be the key holder? And that gave me access to the shop after hours. So of course I had the keys, I was working, I had a little bit of money, and I had the storeroom to go and sleep in. I was like, okay, we're warm, we're dry, we've got a bit of money, alright, we're going to go up from here. And then of course started saving up, got a suit, joined into all the property events again, raised enough money, bought another house, slept in the garage of that while we were doing that up. Okay, back on my feet, right, let's go.
Wow.
So how determined are you? Now, I said earlier that I'm not very good at detail. One of the things I want to do is write a book, but I'm dyslexic and I think I've probably got ADHD as well. I don't know for sure. So writing is not great, and detail isn't great either. But one of the things is going to be something along the lines of, at what point are you going to quit? Well, never, because I'm going to do this or I'm going to die trying. And I think the book will be something along the lines of, this is my story and this is my mindset, and this is the mindset that you have to have in property, because no one really tells you you're going to end up crying to yourself, oh my, it's all gone wrong. And they are going to come. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, where you are, they're going to happen. And it's at that point you've got to surround yourself with amazing people. You've got to have some sort of mentor, like we both do, and you've got to have the tenacity to just keep going, because if you can see that it works and you just know that, I think the one thing to sum it all up is just don't ignore your gut.
Wow, that is really inspirational. I'm having goosebumps you explaining it to me, because again, it's your resilience and your perseverance. Despite falling down the drain, you're able to crawl back up.
Exactly.
And show your head up, and then you eventually get your body out of that hole,
Yeah.
and then now look where you are. So I hope our audience would relate to that, and
Yeah.
literally I am speechless basically because I was in a similar situation, but maybe it's not as worse as you, because I thought mine was worse at university. I ended up being homeless. I was sleeping sofas and all that sort of thing. But for you to literally even get kicked up by your friends and then end up being in a train station where I grew up as well in Croydon, so I can really relate to that. But yeah, it's a truly inspirational story, and like seriously, it really gives me a chilly moment, because I really understand that, and it's good you've been able to go through it. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And
the thing is, you never know when you're going to end up back in a shed, right? So I don't take anything for granted.
Yeah, well done. You're doing you've done really well. Personally, as long as you're better today than yesterday, you're doing absolutely amazing. Especially to compare yourself with someone else and all that sort of thing, which drives me nicely to social media. Okay. Last quick, before we go into the quick fire round questions. In property investment world, business, social media, there is a problem in the first world, which is overwhelm. Okay, so many social media channels, everybody is doing so many stuff, buying expensive cars, showing they bought this house, bought that house, going on holiday, showing like literally lavish life, right? How are you able to deal with overwhelm? Because as a property investor, there's so many strategies out there. How are you able to literally sit down and focus and penetrate just in property instead of any other strategies?
I think, for me, if you're watching people that are putting up pictures of their lavish lifestyle, I think straight away you're either starting with a fake person or they're doing it for the social media attention, neither of which is really going to help you. So early on, I decided that I was only ever going to take advice from someone that's doing what I want to do, and they're doing it for reasons other than showing off.
Okay.
So it was two things, and that actually led me early on to a mentor who taught me how to fundraise, who taught me about sourcing, who taught me about strategies, and that worked really well for me. So from my point of view, that's a really great piece of advice. Find the best person who's doing what you want to do in the area that you're doing it, and just bug them. Just go like, tell me what you're doing. Can I follow you around? Can I work for free? Can I, buy a house with you? Can I come with your viewings? Can I, if I find something, will you fund it? Just bug people, right? Because they get excited by people that are new and want to do stuff, because we were all there once. And if you're that keen, eventually someone will go, yeah, sit down, let's do a deal. So I think that's my best piece of advice. Certainly if you're choosing a mentor, find the best person that's doing what you want to do, that isn't necessarily just selling a course.
Absolutely.
So my original mentor that got me to where I am now wasn't selling any courses. And I said, can you teach me what you do? And that worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it took a while to figure it out.
So because, and I also got this advice, don't watch what people are doing in social media. What I've learned in social media is basically people are living double lives. Right.
Definitely.
They would probably have an opportunity to sit in a first class plane. Maybe when they're boarding, they ask one of the flight attendants, "How can I literally see how fast?" They sat down and take a photo, relax, and thinking that, or they can borrow a car or lease a car for them for just a photo shoot. So
and I can't knock that, because that's what I did at my school reunion. Turned up with the nice car with the suit. I hadn't hired it; it was mine, but it was like it was to impress, and it was like, yeah, that doesn't really work for me.
No, it doesn't work. So what I'm saying is, don't see people in social media doing things like that thinking, okay, that's how their exact life is. So as Josh just said, find someone authentic, someone who's real, pick your
role model.
Pick someone that this is real, it's not faking, it's literally doing it in real life, instead of probably paying for ridiculous expensive courses to people that don't even have properties. Some of them don't even have property, or they've invested probably in properties a long time ago, and now they're not really investing. Their business is purely teaching people, and that's how they make their money. So you can also tell when you go to this event as well. You can tell this is business, basically trying to get something out of it.
Yeah, you need to be careful. I'm don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing training or courses or anything like that. But as long as the person is actually doing it, can back it up, and is going to be personally responsible to you for making sure you succeed and helping you through what will be a bumpy ride getting started in property, then great. But just make sure you've got the backup and you're paying for someone that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right there. It's not about them pulling so many people in the event. You can tell, if someone is practicing what they preach, they would post that in social media as well, actually. I mean, the project I'm doing is like what you do, basically. Right, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That is real life example.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a bit rubbish, actually. I don't think I'm very good at marketing.
So I'm not as well. So people are saying, "Oh, you should be doing lots of these. Sometimes you do showing that." I'm not the person that will show off. I don't like to show off, and I like to show what I do instead of bragging or bluffing about it. But again, there's so many people out there that are genuinely property investors like yourself. If you can tap into Josh, ask him if there's an opportunity to work together in a joint venture partnership, for example, or if he can mentor, if he can train you. That's an opportunity also for you to learn at the same time on. Okay, which is what you did with your other investor.
You'll have to be good if because as a general rule, I'm not very good with people that won't do the stuff.
Of course, action takers, basically.
If you're coming on board, I'm going to kind of test you a little bit and go, right, do this and do that, and then come back to me, because the people that I want on board are going to do the stuff, and if you won't pick up the phone, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So. We can have conversations, but it's not out there as a general invitation.
Same here also. I do property trainings as well as mainly I do my mentorship programs as well. But my mentorship program is application based only because I don't want to take anybody else. As I said, I want someone who can take action, who can execute. Because at the end of the day, if I mentor you not taking action, it's wasting your time and my time.
Yeah.
So what I do, basically, I only do it to a minimum number of people as well. Because obviously I've got my renovation to do, I've got my development project going. It's only a number of people because it takes me time because I deal with you one-to-one, and it's application based. If I know in the interview or in the discussion we have you're not going to take action, I'd rather not take you on because you'll be sucking in my energy and not taking any action. I'd rather I want someone who would say, okay, tell me this, I'm going to do it straight away. Right? And in that case, because I'm doing a handful of people, they're doing really, really well because I tell them up front, it's not an easy game. Right? You have to promise me you will take action. Right? It's not about the money here, it's about you taking action. And I would say 90%, 95% of the people that have actually gone to my mentorship program, they've taken action, they're doing really, really well. And I'm not advertising it, by the way, okay? So it is purely what I do, and I don't advertise that side of the business as well, only if you've approached them. But as you just said, find someone who's doing better than what you want to do, who you can follow. Don't look for someone who's got masses of people who wouldn't have time to even talk to you.
They're not going to have time to do even this.
Yeah, so I really like you sharing that with us. Quick fire round question. So what's advice you remember receiving?
Go big or go home.
Best advice you remember receiving?
For me, the best piece of advice was do good by your investors and you won't have to have many of them to be really successful.
Fantastic, I like that answer. Who is your favourite sports star?
Spot star?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
It could be a football star, athletics. I don't know how you don't have that.
I don't do celebrities. Because I'm really terrible. If we go to a pub, someone will be talking about something that's happened. And I'm like, who's this person? They're like, you don't know who that is? No, I don't even have I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV. I don't read newspapers. And I don't have the news on my phone, which may sound ignorant. You don't know what's going on in the world. However, I'm very much. I will filter what comes into my world because that's going to give me the edge against everyone else. So I genuinely don't have any.
I like that, bro.
I don't really know many celebrities. I think if I had to choose someone, it would probably be Mr. Ford.
There you go.
Who created the T Ford?
That is a good person actually.
And I'll tell you what's interesting. The Model T Ford, which was 1916, something like that, was meant to be electric.
Really?
It was meant to be an electric car. Now, the guy who was funding the T Ford had shares in oil.
Right.
So it had a petrol engine.
Yeah.
And that's
conflict of interest there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, smart, but yeah, we might have all been driving around electric cars if it wasn't for that guy having bought some oil. So it's interesting.
Wow. Okay. So by the way, not watching the news, you're not missing anything. Okay.
Yeah, I
know.
Horrible
stuff. It's
all
horrible
I don't want to wake
stuff,
up and know how many people have died this morning.
So you don't want to do that. Okay. Looking back at your 18-year self, what would you have done differently?
I would have I have a saying in my business, which is, I make the best decision that I can at any point in time on the information I have, and therefore I never have to regret anything.
Wow.
Okay, and that's just in my business. It's, I make the best decision at the moment in time on the information I have and never have to regret anything. So, would I have done anything differently? No, because I've always made the best decision at any point in time. However, if I had a time machine, I'd go back, buy 3 houses, sell 2, keep 1, and just keep going.
Fantastic. I like that one, though. So what was your inspiration growing up?
Inspiration growing up? Was I inspired by? I was inspired by people that were different. Now, which is kind of nice. I'm kind of thinking through what my thought process is. I like to be different. I've never wanted to do what the crowd does, which is why I wasn't cool and all that stuff. And I was inspired by the people that had the balls to go out and do something different. And I was like, I'm going to be like that.
Brilliant. I like that. Your biggest regret?
Like I said, I make the best decision with the information I have at any one point in time, and therefore never have to regret anything. But if I could change the past, I would do deals earlier and pay my parents more profit for the support they gave me in all my business ventures over the years.
Fantastic. That's a good answer. Who is or was your role model growing up?
Role model, on the way home, I'll go, oh, it was this person. Right. Can't think of who was my role model.
Is there something you believe that lots of people disagree with you with?
Oh, loads of stuff.
Give me one important thing.
Well, I seem to do things very differently to other people. And so the more time goes on, I realise how different my mind works to everyone else. So I can't think of anything particular, but I will just do stuff so differently, and all of the time I'm going, wow, I'm so different to everyone else. I think I'll try and think of an example. Probably dealing with one of my early tenants. So the first house I ever bought post crash, I rented a room out to a girl, and she was working at the local bar and just sort of kind of doing her thing. Of course, I'm going to do this, I'm motivated, this is what I want to do, I've got it all mapped out, and I'm going to do everything I can, blood, sweat and tears to make it. And I said, what's your life goal? And he said, well, I haven't got one. And I was like, what? Like, how can you not have a goal? So, well, I'll probably meet someone and have a kid and yeah. And I went, oh wow, I am really different to everyone else. And I didn't realise that's a sort of fairly normal thing for people, is just to wander through life and find yourself a job
and then hope it goes well.
Yeah, and it, like, my mind boggled. I mean, I was, I don't know, I might not have even been 20. Yeah, maybe early 20s, and it would have been it was a massive thing for me to realise that people around me aren't like I am. And these happen regularly through my life. It's like, wow, I am so different to everyone else.
Of course.
But I've got other stuff that people haven't, so that kind of matches. And I struggle to give myself credit for stuff I do. So
yeah, wow, well done.
But,
same here. Here, exactly the same thing. Sometimes I do things like, why did you not know how to do this? Why would you not know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, then I realized, everybody's different. I'm different, so I think differently and people are differently. So you're absolutely right. So what is the best book you've ever read or listened to?
So it will horrify all of you out there to know I've never read a single book from cover to cover.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm dyslexic. And what happens is, I'll read a line, and then I'll start reading the same line, which won't matter because whatever is written there won't go into my brain just because of how my brain works.
Right.
So, as for reading, quite literally, I haven't. However, the best audiobook that I've listened to, for me, is A Slight Edge,
okay.
by Jeff Olson. which is a first place, but that's tied with the richest man in Babylon.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So those are two that I will listen to.
Yeah.
To get inspired, and certainly the richest man in Babylon will be, if it all goes wrong, you can rebuild.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I like that book as well. I've listened to it. I listen to it twice a year.
Yeah.
So Richest Man in Babylon. So I like that book as well. So does money change you?
Does it change you? No. It just amplifies who you are and what you do.
Does money make you happy?
Does money make you happy? I would rather cry in a Ferrari than a Skoda. However,
I like that.
However, money gives you the ability to do stuff that will make you happy.
Yeah.
So you can take that any way you want. Money itself is a tool to be used in order for you to get what you want or create value in order to be able to do what you want.
Fantastic.
So if you want a yes and no answer, no. But
no. Okay. No. Is there something you used to strongly believe you recently changed your mind on?
Probably loads of stuff.
Okay.
I used to believe that you had to have a certain monetary value for you to be successful.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So my goal was to get X number of millions by this point. Then you're successful. I think, to me, now your success is a feeling.
Absolutely.
It's not a result.
No.
Because when you get to the point you can jump in the Ferrari and you realise it's not what you wanted, then suddenly that's not success anymore. So success to me isn't a solid thing. If you're making progress, if you're doing deals, if you're helping people get out of bad situations, if you're creating an impact and you're making progress, to me that's success.
Yeah.
And most of the things that people think they want, after they've got it, it's like, well, actually, that didn't give me the amazing satisfaction that I thought I was going to get. So I think for me, you have to decide what success means for you.
Yeah.
And then when you get there, you might decide it's something else.
Yeah.
So it's not a solid, tangible thing that you can go, once I've got this, I'm successful.
Yeah, it's a level, isn't it? Once you hit that level, you've achieved it, then you say, now what?
Yeah.
And then you have to go to the next level. And you have to go to the next level. You have to go to the next level. So I understand where you're coming from. So it's never sort of a limit where you stop. So this is it. I'm not, unless you tell yourself that, obviously. But you can always grow and grow and grow and grow until you say, you know what, that's it. But you can still continue growing. Definitely. Is there something in the world you fundamentally think is wrong and you would like to change?
In the world?
Yeah.
Oh my! How long have you got? I think for me, what I think the biggest issue in this country is the education system.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Now it's not necessarily a problem if you designed it to be what it is, right? Because it's designed to put you into an employee mindset.
Yeah.
Why do you think they won't teach entrepreneurship to the masses? I'm sure there are a few schools that do, and there's a lot of people that would, like myself, that were passionate and would go out and teach this stuff. The government doesn't want lots of business owners, successful people that are using the system to their advantage in the nicest way. They want you to be an employee, pay tax, go to a school, college, university, get loads of debt, and then be paying it off for the rest of your life. How about fuck that? How about I'm not playing that game? I watched my dad work himself into the ground, retire, and then just die. And I'm not playing that game.
No, it's a disgusting game, to be honest.
That all comes from the school education system. Is you go to school, college, university, work, get a career, work for someone else, and then be robbed of your pension at the end. Happy days. Where do I sign? So it's not necessarily that the education system itself is bad. It's that what it is educating you to believe is the way forward isn't beneficial for the individual.
Wow, that's a good one.
That's controversial.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's
to be honest with
genuine.
you, it is absolutely true. They don't teach us money at school.
No.
Right? There are accountants out there working in banks. They don't know the value of money.
No.
Right? Because they've been taught, as you just said, school, college, university, work, pension, you get robbed on it, and then that's it, you die. So you're absolutely right in that. So I think that needs to be found, that needs to be changed. Right? Kids or children need to have the opportunity to learn about money, entrepreneurship at early stage.
Yeah.
That way, I think we would all learn and grow, and the country will get to the next level. One of the reasons why America is one of the greatest countries in the world, they teach these things.
Do they?
There are opportunities out there that you don't. It's not the traditional school,
Yeah.
but they have these private pockets, private situations that you could go to that can teach you all these sort of things. So I think we need to bring that back here so that people will learn a lot more about entrepreneurship. So I'll definitely back you up on that.
Yeah, I think so. One of my teachers was rather upset with me when I told them that how can I rely on you to teach me about life if you've been to school, college, university, and then you're back in school again? What the hell do you know about real life? It didn't go down too well.
Yeah.
And this is another thing. And when you're at school, you can't argue back.
No.
That's just not the real world.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the time as a kid, you know, I was an argument looking for a place to happen, right? It was like, well, you know, I would question, well, why are you teaching me algebra? I'm never going to need to know algebra. And do you know what? I haven't used it.
No, you haven't.
X, Y, Z divided by the number you first thought of has really not helped me.
No.
So, you know, they were pretty upset when I said that.
Yeah, and we were told in school not to copy, right? Which is an absolute... I don't understand why we actually say that in school. Looking at it now, people copy people to be successful.
Of course.
They
Success
copy
leaves
you,
clues.
make themselves better, or make their product better than yours. But that's where we look. Look at Amazon and eBay. Now we've got Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia.
Yeah.
Right? You've got my estate agents. There's so many estate agents out there. So I just wonder then, looking at it, actually I was thinking about this few years ago, asking myself, why did they really tell us not to copy each other at school? Because it doesn't psychologically make sense. Because
it does if they're wanting employees that do your own thing and...
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it that way.
Unfortunately, I could be wrong, and I'm sure there are teachers out there who are absolutely furious at me, and you know, bring it on, I don't care. It just appears to be that is the path that they're setting people up to. Which, when school was started in Victoria and all the revolution, it was designed to, the bell rings, you go into the factory, the bell rings, you go for lunch, and obviously that hasn't changed that much considering the change that we've had in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, the biggest problem to me is how the education system
that definitely needs to be changed. This podcast is called Property Investment Blueprint. What does Property Investment Blueprint mean to you?
I think for me, the property blueprint, in my mind, I visualise my systems manual.
Wow, good.
Because if I was going to franchise the business, that's your blueprint for someone to take what I've done and replicate it, and then make it better. Because if I'm handing that over to someone, I want them to copy it and make it better, which refers back to your other point. Copy is great, and be really harsh and skeptical about it, because I don't have all the answers. If someone can take it and go, you've done a rubbish job, make it better, do this, great, crack on, let's improve stuff, let's make it better, make it more profitable, make it faster. So a blueprint to me is an operations manual for running a successful business, which is what you buy if you buy a franchise.
Fantastic. Final one. If there was one person you'd love me to interview, who would that be?
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. Boom. I'm gonna get it.
and earlier I said I didn't like celebrities.
Yeah.
Role model, Richard Branson.
Richard Branson, he is. He's amazing. He's a role model to me. He's doing absolutely amazing, helping businesses, helping people grow, and he's helped so many people. So I'd love to have him on. I'll try my hardest if we can get him on. He's a busy man, but I'll definitely try. So someone in the property world then, who do you think in the UK that you would recommend for us to interview? It could be someone that you know.
I think, for me, apart from Richard Branson, if you haven't interviewed Susanna Cole,
Okay.
Get her on. She's brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay.
She's got the systems in place. She's ex-marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I tried to do when working with her was try and grab that marketing knowledge, because I don't think I'm particularly good at marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not disciplined enough to spend time making those adverts wonderful and right and that kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Susanna Cole, if you haven't already.
Definitely. Okay. So if you need help with that, let us know. We have a marketing team who might be able to help you with that.
Okay, awesome.
What an amazing way to end, and that was a great special moment to me. It's been inspiring. I've learned a lot from the businesses that you've helped grow, the joint venture partnership you've done, and thank you so much for this. And I hope our audience has also learned a lot as well.
Hopefully, reach out if it's been helpful.
Yeah. Where should we follow you, and where are you hanging out in social media if someone wants to contact you, basically?
So there is Instagram, which is Josh the Property Guy with the Hat.
Yeah.
And now, if you'd like to know the story behind the hat, which is my only, I think, successful bit of marketing, when I was sleeping in a shed, I was putting on a suit, and of course my hair would be all over the place, and I covered it up with the hat. And then when I was doing my calls, they were like, "Oh yeah, you were the guy with the hat," and I went, this is good. And then the next call, I was like, "The guy with the hat." They're like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." Boom, straight away, people recognise me. So yeah, Josh the Property Guy with the Hat for Instagram. Facebook, Josh Knecht, which is Knecht. There's also a YouTube channel which I've neglected for quite a while, to be fair, which is 2B Property.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the name I traded under when I first started, so that's remained the same. And it's not quite launched yet, and this might be a bit early, but we're starting a new business called Avon Property Sourcing.
Okay, great.
So that'll be offering out deals that I find in Bristol and Avon to investors or people that want to get involved.
Okay.
So that'll be launching later in the year.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's been good having you here and
awesome.
sharing your life passion with us. I love what you're doing. I love what you represent. So keep it going, and I would love to touch base with you sometime in the future as well, so we can have lots of this episode done and learn about your journey. So thanks very much.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.